Before these noodles reach a shelf, they pass through a tightly choreographed chain of transformations.
The story begins far from packing, where an unusual ingredient enters an industrial journey. Handled cleanly and briefly, the raw ingredient is gathered before its factory transformation can begin. Sealed crates move the material onward, turning a small harvest into a managed supply chain. At the receiving bay, the outside world gives way to a controlled food processing environment. Before automation takes over, technicians make a first visual check of the incoming material. Optical scanners sort the flow, creating a measured handoff to the washing stage. Water and movement clean the ingredient while the conveyor keeps the process moving forward. A vibrating sieve removes excess water before heat and mechanical processing take over.
What matters here is not spectacle, but control. Each handoff prepares the next one.
Steam and controlled heat begin a major transformation, changing both texture and handling. Inside closed tubing, the material travels without an unnecessary detour across the floor. Rollers reduce the processed ingredient into a smoother, more uniform working base. Extrusion turns that base into a dense paste, ready to meet the noodle-making line. The technician watches the flow at close range, keeping human oversight within the system. Flour joins the processed base, beginning the blend that will become workable dough. Inside the kneader, repeated motion brings the mixture toward a smooth elastic mass. A quick texture check connects the machine rhythm to a practical human decision.
We watch the dough closely because consistency starts before the noodles are cut.
Dough now enters rollers, where a thick sheet begins to take shape. Successive passes stretch that sheet thinner while keeping its movement even and deliberate. Alignment guidance helps the sheet arrive straight before the cutting stage begins. A cutting comb separates one broad sheet into the long strands of noodles. Shaped blocks enter steam, where heat continues the change without stopping the line. At the tunnel, controlled vapor surrounds the blocks as operators monitor the process. A brief finishing heat step prepares the blocks for the next mechanical handoff.
By now, the dough has a recognizable form. Heat will set the pace from here.
Line cuts the larger slab into individual portions with repeatable spacing. Each portion drops into a wire basket, a visible transfer into the frying section. Baskets advance toward the fryer in a single direction, keeping the next action clear. A worker and automated equipment share the fryer zone, each with a defined role. In the oil, the noodle blocks change quickly under a tightly contained thermal process. A robotic lift brings the baskets upward, letting excess oil return below. Blocks leave their baskets and settle onto the conveyor for the next stage. Fans and a light mist support the transition away from the fryer.
Cooling gives the line a moment to stabilize before the next checks begin.
A spiral conveyor creates time and distance, letting hundreds of blocks move through cooling. Cool mist surrounds the product briefly as the line prepares for inspection. Sensors scan each block, turning visual checks into a repeatable part of the workflow. Meanwhile, the seasoning ingredients are sorted in a separate, deliberately clean workspace. Grinding changes whole chilies into flakes, concentrating preparation into one visible action. The sealed spice bin moves down the aisle, keeping the ingredient flow organized. Another manual check focuses on the finished noodle block before flavoring continues. Behind closed vessels, the seasoning system waits for its own precise mixing sequence.
The noodle is only half the story. The seasoning line has its own rhythm.
Spices enter the mixer and begin forming the blend that will travel with the noodles. A parallel flour line shows how several material streams can support one factory rhythm. The technician examines a flour sample, adding another human checkpoint to the process. Water and flour combine again, illustrating the repeated logic behind the noodle base. Pressing a familiar process into a new sequence. Cutting returns the sheet to strands, where repetition becomes part of the factory language. Steam treats the fresh strands again, maintaining the steady cadence of production. Sensors inspect the blocks before packing, with abstract signals rather than readable claims.
We look for repeatable conditions, so the next stage receives a consistent product.
Robotic arms lower the baskets into oil, repeating the thermal step at line speed. Blocks rise from the fryer and enter moving air for controlled dry-off. Final scanner watches the finished noodles before small companion items are added. Pick and place arms position plain seasoning sachets beside each noodle block, beginning the change from food item to retail unit. A laser marks a non-readable area, preserving traceability imagery without inventing information, shifting the scale from one unit to many. Carton is sealed, ready for the warehouse stage that follows.
Once packing begins, the factory shifts from food processing to careful logistics.
Palletizing robot builds stable layers, turning individual boxes into a transportable load. The second angle reveals the same packing logic: form, fill, and move onward. Sealed cartons leave the line in sequence, with no brand or destination implied. Stretch film holds the pallet together for the handling that comes next. A forklift carries wrapped pallets toward an unbranded truck at the loading dock. Distribution planning connects the factory floor to a wider, carefully managed route. Warehouse robots and cargo handling extend the process beyond the factory walls. The journey ends at a shelf where
From raw material to dispatch, every stage leaves its mark on a noodle pack.